China is using the LA fires to gloat over the US. Very classy. Welcome to China Uncensored, I'm Chris Chappell. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone who's still going strong with Operation Honeypot. Be sure to like this video and leave a comment with the honeypot emoji below. And stick around until the end of the video because I have some very interesting updates on the operation, including a response from YouTube. So, the eyes of the world are watching the raging fires in California. And China is no exception. But it's not just news coverage. In fact, US wildfire has been trending on Chinese social media platforms like Weibo, even topping the Tibet earthquake, which happened around the same time. More on that later. Lots of videos on Chinese social media have been focused on what went wrong, such as firefighters seemingly not being equipped to put out fires, although firefighters are using standard canvas bags in that clip, not purses like some people are suggesting. And allegations that California was using prisoners to help fight fires, which is outrageous. It's inhumane. They should just torture their prisoners and threaten their families like the noble CCP. A lot of Chinese netizens are making light of the situation. For example, the Great Translation Movement picked up comments saying things like, "Congratulations from Dalian, more fires please," and "Congratulations, best news since 2025. There's also "more fire, burn harder," and "the US did too many bad things, God won't let them off the hook," as well as "God punish America." And speaking of God, some netizens are saying the fires are a sign from heaven, like the biblical account of Sodom and Gomorrah's divine punishment and destruction. You know, for a strictly atheist country that usually censors religious references online, China seems to be totally okay with people bringing up God in the Bible as long as God is punishing America. You know, super selective and cherry-picking how they use religion in a hypocritical, hateful way? Man, they sound like a ton of religious folks I know. Anyway, Chinese netizens didn't stop there, with many commenting, "Beautiful sight." This is likely in reference to Nancy Pelosi, who, according to Chinese state-run media, has called violent protests in Hong Kong a beautiful sight. Of course, that's not really what happened. She was referring to peaceful protests like this candlelight vigil, but the phrase has been used to mock the US ever since nonetheless. These comments aren't just limited to Mandarin. English comment sections in Chinese state-run media videos have called the LA fires karma, poetic justice, and once again, a beautiful sight. Although this is less of a surprise to me. As someone who's been on YouTube as long as I have, I already know that the comment sections for some channels are massive train wrecks, which just makes me appreciate you all the more. Like, comment, complete with honeypot, and subscribe. There have also been comments saying that China would respond to the LA fires better than the US, because if we learned anything from COVID, it's that the CCP is excellent at responding to disasters. In fact, the phrase, "Why didn't Los Angeles learn from the Chongqing firefighting?" has been trending on Weibo, and has been brought up in multiple Chinese articles and TV programs.
那美国社交媒体上对于这场灾难的讨论是充满了绝望啊！有人说呢，要学习重庆人民啊，团结起来保卫家园。现在美国社交媒体上对于这场灾难讨论充满绝望啊！有人说要学习重庆啊，保卫家园。
Well, you're right, China. There is a lot of despair on American social media right now because everything isn't scrubbed from it by overworked, clinically depressed censors. But I digress. These media sources are comparing the LA firefighting response to Chongqing's in 2022. They're doing it to show how China, more specifically the CCP, is allegedly more competent at natural disaster response than the US, and is able to prevent natural disasters ahead of time thanks to the Chinese socialist system. As for unnatural disasters, not so much. At least California's problems are just contained to California. Really, they say Los Angeles residents should learn from Chongqing. And it's not just the mainstream Chinese media. Pro-CCP English-speaking influencers are also pushing this narrative on X to make the CCP look good and the US look bad. I wonder who started that fire so the CCP could show off all 4 of its functional firefighting drones. The smear campaigns against the United States works by touting the response to the wildfires in Chongqing of CPC members, soldiers, masses, and firefighters who together stood as a wall of light between the fire and the city. There's just one problem. China actually kind of sucks at dealing with natural disasters. The Chongqing example worked out, but only after local biker clubs carried firefighters up the mountainside to the fire which says a lot about China's amazing socialist system and its resources. And other natural disasters have not been dealt with as smoothly. Remember when I mentioned the recent earthquake in Tibet? Chinese state-run media would have you believe that aid is going quickly and smoothly to those affected areas. Wow, look at all these workers working hard. And according to Chinese officials, only 126 people died. That's almost fewer than they torture to death every week. But as usual, there are doubts about China's official casualty rate. Radio Free Asia sources said that at least 100 people died in one Tibetan village alone. But it's hard to get an accurate picture since China is so opaque about data. In fact, China is banning monks and aid workers from visiting quake-hit areas in Tibet, which is totally something that authoritarian governments do when everything in the area is going smoothly. The CCP is also deleting photos and videos about the earthquake from social media. They're focusing instead on pumping out propaganda. Just look at all the smiling children cheering and singing with their rescuers. China makes itself look good while deleting online content that makes it look bad all the time. So don't let the CCP memory hole you into forgetting how Chinese officials deliberately flooded towns in 2023, or how Chinese officials enforced insane COVID lockdown policies that got in the way of putting down an apartment fire in Urumqi, Xinjiang, which in turn sparked massive protests that called for Xi Jinping to step down. Even with the Chongqing fire, which China is so proud about, there were problems. Authorities forced millions of Chongqing residents to queue up for mass COVID testing in the searing heat. Not even firefighters were exempt, which made the natural disaster response a lot slower than it needed to be. The Chinese government doesn't really care about people's lives. The CCP is essentially one big No Lives Matter rally. The fact that China censored this clip of China's Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs perfectly illustrates this.
一个国家的政府如果连自己国家的公民的生命都不在乎，都不去尽力保护，如何让人相信他们会真正的在乎、关心和保护其他国家的人权呢？人权不是华丽的、空洞的口号，更不是干涉别国内政的工具，而应该是实实在在的，让最广大人民感受得到的生活的改善、价值和尊严的实现。
Yes, the irony is thick. But keep your eye out for this. This is a propaganda campaign being waged all across social media, trying to demoralize Americans into believing that the US sucks and China is great. But it's a lie. Remember, there's a reason why wealthy Americans aren't fleeing to China. And now, as promised, Operation Honeypot. Some very interesting developments ahead. A week ago, I launched this video exposing how China Uncensored had mysteriously and suddenly lost over half of our viewership following the US presidential election in November. We also talked about how it wasn't just us. Other anti-CCP YouTubers had experienced the same thing. You, China Uncensored viewers, told us in a survey how YouTube was secretly unsubscribing many of you, not notifying you of our videos, and recommending pro-CCP content instead of our channel. Meanwhile, our YouTube rep said the problem was we weren't getting enough engagement in our videos. Yes, clearly it was all our fault. So in response, we launched Operation Honeypot. We asked you, China Uncensored viewers, to join my 50-cent army by liking our videos and leaving a comment with a honeypot emoji below. We wanted to see if more engagement actually made a difference. Well, your response has blown us away. Since then, we've gotten more than 30,000 honeypot comments. That's amazing. Many of you told us you still weren't getting notifications or recommendations for our videos. But since Operation Honeypot began, some of you have started seeing our videos again. Is it working? Maybe. Some of our videos started doing better, but others haven't. But the most interesting thing is, a couple of days ago, I got an email from YouTube. They said they've been, quote, made aware that we are experiencing issues with our channel and have sent this to their internal specialists to investigate. Now, I did not make them aware of what's been happening to our channel. I haven't spoken to anyone from YouTube in over a month. I have a hunch that Operation Honeypot is what made YouTube aware of these issues and suddenly interested in investigating. So you, my 50-cent army, are doing something amazing. Your likes and comments are saving China Uncensored. Thank you. But the operation isn't over yet. We need to keep it going. Like this video and leave a comment with the honeypot emoji below. I'll leave a copy of it below so it's easy to copy and paste. Let's go! Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.